Hi, this is Reading with Claire. Part 1: How Smartphones Stole Childhood Innocence. The anxious generation delivers a powerful wake-up call about our digital dystopia, revealing how smartphones have stolen childhood's innocence and replaced it with anxiety. This meticulously researched work tracks the psychological devastation caused by the unprecedented technological transformation of adolescence. Post-2010 children, the first true smartphone natives, are growing up in a world where virtual interactions outweigh real ones, where screens dominate waking hours, and where depression rates have skyrocketed. Alarming data shows teens now spend 7-9 daily hours glued to screens, more time than they spend sleeping or engaging in face-to-face conversations. Compared to their 1990s counterparts, today's youth experience a 60% reduction in unstructured outdoor playtime, creating what child development experts call a play deficit disaster. Renowned social psychologist Jonathan Haidt connects these disturbing trends, presenting irrefutable evidence that digital overload is rewiring young brains and creating the most anxious, fragile generation in recorded history. Part 2: The iPhone Revolution: How the Digital Age Rewired Teen Brains and Social Patterns. The 2007 iPhone launch triggered a seismic shift in human development, quietly revolutionizing how children experience their formative years. By 2012, when social media penetration exceeded 50% among teens, the first warning signs of psychological distress began appearing. Cutting-edge neuroscience reveals that constant screen stimulation triggers dopamine surges comparable to gambling addiction, effectively rewiring young brains to crave digital validation. Where previous generations enjoyed 2-3 hours of daily face-to-face interaction, today's teens average a pitiful 30 minutes of authentic conversation, with the remainder replaced by shallow, fragmented digital exchanges. The ubiquitous like button has spawned a generation of performers, constantly curating artificial personas for algorithmic approval, rather than developing authentic identities through real-world experiences. Sleep studies confirm that the blue light from devices suppresses melatonin production by 30-40, creating epidemic levels of sleep deprivation among adolescents. Most troubling is the emerging gender divide. Girls suffer disproportionately from social media-fueled depression and body image disorders, while boys battle attention deficits and gaming addiction at unprecedented rates. These divergent impacts suggest technology interacts dangerously with biological predispositions in ways we're only beginning to understand. Part 3: Alarming Data: The Direct Link Between Technology and the Youth Mental Health Crisis. The statistical evidence presented in The Anxious Generation paints the most comprehensive picture yet of our youth mental health emergency. Between 2012 to 2019, clinical depression rates among American teens exploded by an astonishing 150%, with the steepest increases occurring precisely when smartphone ownership reached saturation. Emergency rooms witnessed a 188% surge in self-harm cases among tween girls ages 10-14, while suicide rates for teenage girls climbed to the highest levels ever recorded. Advanced neuroimaging reveals heavy social media users develop 15-20 larger amygdalae, the brain's fear centers, along with noticeable reductions in gray matter density in regions responsible for emotional regulation. These physical changes directly correlate with increased anxiety and decreased resilience to everyday stressors. Meanwhile, prefrontal cortex development now typically delays until age 26 rather than the historical norm of 21, leaving young adults dangerously ill-equipped to handle the very technologies reshaping their vulnerable brains. Haidt emphasizes this isn't mere correlation but proven causation, as longitudinal studies tracking children before and after social media adoption demonstrate undeniable cause and effect relationships. Part 4. 4 Biological Mechanisms of Tech Harm: Social Deprivation, Sleep Disruption, Attention Fragmentation, and Addiction Loops. The book identifies 4 interconnected biological mechanisms through which digital technology inflicts psychological harm. 1. Social deprivation. Virtual connections cannot provide the neurological benefits of in-person interaction. The mirror neuron system, crucial for empathy development, fails to properly form without face-to-face contact. 2. Sleep disruption. Devices don't just reduce sleep quantity. They destroy sleep quality through blue light exposure and the psychological arousal of endless scrolling. 3. Attention fragmentation. Constant multitasking rewires neural pathways, shrinking attention spans from 12 seconds to just 8 seconds in the past 2 decades alone. 4. Addiction loops. Intermittent rewards from notifications hijack the brain's dopamine system more effectively than slot machine payouts in Vegas casinos. These mechanisms create a vicious, self-reinforcing cycle that tech companies knowingly exploit through persuasive design, effectively conducting an uncontrolled mass experiment on an entire generation's developing minds. Part 5. The Death of Free Play: How Overprotection Created the Most Fragile Generation. Comparative studies between 1990 and 2010 childhood experiences reveal nothing short of a social catastrophe in the making. Unsupervised outdoor playtime has plummeted from 15 hours weekly to a mere 3 hours, an 80% reduction in just 2 decades. This play famine represents more than just lost fun. It's the disappearance of a critical developmental nutrient. Free play serves as nature's classroom for executive function, teaching children how to negotiate, problem solve, and self-regulate without adult intervention. Risk-taking during play builds psychological resilience and stress tolerance in ways that structured activities and virtual experiences simply cannot replicate. The rise of safetyism culture has paradoxically created the most fragile generation despite unprecedented physical safety. Research shows children with the least independent activity display the highest anxiety levels, suggesting that overprotection may be more harmful than the risks it prevents. By eliminating opportunities for moderate risk-taking, we've prevented young people from developing their natural psychological immune systems through gradual exposure. The virtual world's artificial safety creates dangerous illusions, while depriving children of essential coping mechanisms. Part 6. The Backfire of EdTech: Why Digital Classrooms Are Failing. Schools have become unwitting accomplices in this crisis through well-intentioned but misguided digital initiatives. The rush to adopt classroom technology has backfired spectacularly, with studies showing students retain information better when writing by hand versus typing on keyboards. Standardized testing pressures combined with constant digital distractions create a perfect storm of cognitive overload and stress. Teachers nationwide report students now struggle to maintain focus for more than 8-10 minutes at a time, down from 20 minutes just a generation ago. Perhaps most damaging has been the systematic elimination of recess and physical education. Despite overwhelming evidence that movement enhances learning by oxygenating the brain and stimulating neurogenesis, the Finnish education model demonstrates that delaying formal digital education until later years produces superior outcomes. Elementary schools should be completely screen-free zones while secondary institutions need strict, enforceable limits on both educational and personal device usage. Part 7: Digital Invasion of Family Life: How Smartphones Erode Parent-Child Bonds. The digital invasion has reshaped family life with devastating consequences. Shared family meals have decreased by 40% since 2000, robbing children of crucial emotional connection time. Parents themselves model problematic device use, checking phones an average of 80 times daily, creating an absent presence even during together time. The paradoxical combination of helicopter parenting with digital pacifiers has produced a generation that's over-supervised yet under-connected at the same time. Quality parent-child conversation time has plummeted by nearly 60%, with devices interrupting even these precious remaining moments. The concept of joint attention when caregiver and child focus together on the same object or activity proves essential for healthy attachment and cognitive development. Yet device use systematically disrupts these micro-interactions, establishing device-free zones and sacred offline times represents the first step toward reclaiming family connection. Part 8: Neuroscience-Backed Solutions: Strict Age Restrictions on Social Media for Minors. HATE proposes bold but necessary age-based limitations, grounded in developmental neuroscience research. No social media access before age 16 would allow critical identity formation to occur without algorithmic distortion. Smartphone ownership should be delayed until at least age 14, with basic dumb phones satisfying communication needs. These recommendations reflect the biological reality that the prefrontal cortex doesn't fully mature until about age 25, making adolescents particularly vulnerable to manipulation. Early exposure to social media warps self-perception during the crucial identity formation window of adolescence. Gaming should be strictly limited to 1 hour daily, as the compulsive nature of game design exploits developmental vulnerabilities in the reward system. France's successful implementation of school phone bans proves such policies work when properly enforced. Individual willpower cannot overcome intentionally addictive designs. We need systemic solutions matching the scale of the problem. Part 9: Reclaiming Natural Development: The Essential Hour of Daily Outdoor Play. Rebalancing children's lives requires restoring at least 1 hour of daily unstructured outdoor play. Schools must reinstate recess as non-negotiable time, recognizing it as essential for cognitive development, rather than a frivolous break from real learning. Communities need to create safe but challenging play spaces that encourage exploration and moderate risk-taking. The Norwegian risky play model demonstrates how controlled exposure to physical challenges builds confidence and risk assessment skills that transfer to emotional resilience. Non-competitive, non-structured activities prove most valuable for developing creativity and problem-solving abilities. Parents must consciously resist overprotective instincts, recognizing that minor scrapes and bruised egos represent the necessary tuition for life's education. The goal isn't eliminating risk but providing graduated challenges that grow with a child's developing capabilities. Part 10: Digital Literacy Education: Treating tech use as seriously as driver's training. Digital literacy must become as fundamental as reading literacy, teaching students how social media algorithms manipulate attention and distort reality through selective content presentation. Schools should implement technology transparency curricula that dissect the persuasive design techniques used by apps to maximize engagement at users' psychological expense. Parallel emotional intelligence training can equip students with mindfulness techniques proven to reduce anxiety and improve focus in our distraction-filled world. Regular digital fasting periods help reset attention spans and rebuild capacity for deep, sustained concentration. The objective isn't Luddite rejection of technology, but developing mastery over digital tools rather than being mastered by them. These skills should be taught with the same seriousness as driver's education. Both represent potentially dangerous technologies that require proper training to use safely. Part 11, a call for collective action, from household habits to policy reform. Ultimately, solving this crisis requires dismantling the pervasive myth that more technology equals better education. We must collectively redefine what truly constitutes healthy child development in the digital age. Technology companies must be held accountable for designing products that knowingly harm minors. Through both ethical design standards and legal regulations, legislation should prohibit data collection from users under 18 and fundamentally reform engagement-driven algorithmic systems. This cultural transformation begins in individual households, with simple but powerful changes like device-free dinners, but must grow into community-wide norms and expectations. The Scandinavian approach to childhood, valuing independence, outdoor time, and real-world experiences over screen time, provides a proven model worth emulating. Protecting childhood isn't about nostalgia for simpler times, but about securing our collective future by ensuring the next generation develops the psychological resilience needed to face an increasingly complex world. The time for action is now before another anxious generation loses its chance at a healthy, balanced development.